I'm going to quickly show you how I made a little over $1,000 trading SPY puts this morning using the same exact break and retest strategy that I look for every single day when it does present itself, and I'll break it down to you exactly to a T. Coming over on the higher time frame, so there was a gap this morning on SPY or ES, whichever one you tend to look at. So as you can see here, I know it's a little unclear because I have a lot of the markings from earlier, but above the pre-market high from 327 all the way up until 330, 331, there was a gap which is filled now. And throughout the day, if you notice and go back and see the chart, you can see we had a strong move up throughout the day. So overall, a lot of strength in the markets. It was a slow grind up, so I would tend to not do too well on those types of days because obviously, as you can see here, once we had that initial move up, there wasn't really that many opportunities to enter. Yes, there was some pullbacks, but not really my trading style. But if you're able to, understand how to enter it, keep your risk management in place, I think those are a really good opportunity to ride that as a day trade. But coming over to the trade we did take, so on a closer level, right off the open, this is the pre-market high, pre-market low. As always, those are the levels that I mark out. So there was initial, right off the bat, there was a break above pre-market high. So at that point, I was waiting for a pullback. Unfortunately, we never got that pullback to that pre-market high. So at that point, I did mark out the 5-minute high. So at that point, I was looking for the opening range break and retest of the 5-minute high. So as you can see here, we did start to make a move back to that 5-minute high around 9:40. So zooming into the 3-minute time frame, which is what I used today to enter and stay in my trade. There's also fair value gap created right here, which I'll mark out and show you guys. So yeah, there was a fair value gap right there. We did test the fair value gap, and then once we were able to close green with strength at 9:42, that's when I took my entry. My exit would have been, this was a fairly big fair value gap, so I probably wouldn't have held through this if we were to go the opposite way. So honestly, a close below that 5-minute high would have been my exit for this particular trade. So yeah, risking around 30 cents or so, and we capitalized a lot more on that obviously throughout the trade. But yeah, entered right here at 9:42, took my first trim at the high of day, took my second trim at the next high of day. We did have a small pullback right here for a next leg up, and then I did exit. Actually, I did exit earlier than this. I marked this wrong. I exited right before 10 a.m. because we did have news. That was the only news for today. So around this, it seemed like we were making, as you can see here, we wicked up again. So I did end up exiting here along with that 10 a.m. news. I didn't want to hold and risk it. But for those who did have a higher risk tolerance, I think you could have capitalized on another 50 cents, 70 cents or so, which is a really good move. The premiums, once they were in the money, were moving really well today. I will say that. But yeah, if I were to re-enter, for example, on this particular move, I probably would have waited for this right here. There's a small fair value gap also created here. Probably not what I would have worked off of, but I'll show you another one. So the first 30-minute opening range break is probably what I would have looked at that point. So I would have marked it. Actually, no, probably not. It wouldn't have worked. So anyways, this would have been a pretty solid entry. You could have kept your close under this 9 EMA. Not really the types of trades I look for. So it would have been a smaller move, but probably a longer day trade if you were to hold that. But I think the best moves in this today, in my opinion, came this morning. But yeah, overall pretty standard trade that I try to look for. In terms of what I expect to see tomorrow, I would like to see a continuation on the upside. I think there's a lot of strength overall within a lot of big names, especially within tech. But I wouldn't be opposed to the downside as well. There's a lot of gaps for a lot of the names I'm watching. Within the tech space, you can see like Tesla has a gap, Meta has a huge gap that I'm looking to kind of capitalize on if that does, like right here, if that does present itself. Microsoft had a lot of strength today, but also has that gap on the downside. I really like Apple as well. I missed out on a few moves on Apple later on. I don't like to trade after 11 a.m., so I'm really trying to be disciplined with that, especially this month. August wasn't really that great for me last month, so I'm trying to be a little bit more disciplined. But as you can see here, yeah, Apple had a great, almost the same exact move on Apple. If you were to catch SPY, there was a fair value gap right here that was created. That I liked. Yeah, so I would have entered right here, same exact thing as SPY. My exit probably on this trade would have been under the fair value gap, and then this would have been a huge move, 205 to 207 for almost like the whole move. So yeah, I probably would have took my first exit right here at the high of day. Also, the 5-minute high would have kept my stop under that, and we probably never would have stopped out. And then this, again, went up to 207, almost 208. So that would have been an amazing move. And Apple plays pretty well too once it hits in the money. But the move I was watching later on in the day was the break and retest of the pre-market low. So I was watching the premiums and they did move pretty well. So kind of wish I did take it, but it is what it is. But yeah, really excited for the rest of the week. I think there's a lot of other moves that are going to present itself.